I've been journaling every day for the last 1,160 days. And it changed my life. In these journals, I wrote down everything I've done at the exact same time I've done it since November 3rd, 2020. And I did this all because I wanted to become a more productive and successful person. And what's a better way to do that than writing out a plan and sticking to it every day for 1,000 days. And we're just getting started. From 0 to almost 525,000 social media followers with 140 million views. From almost getting kicked out of school to having the school pay me to fly across the country to pitch in national pitch competitions for a company that I created. From getting recruited, going through the entire process of the season, getting through part of the season, and then getting cut from the team as soon as I started college. I documented my entire college journey from start to finish, and the main lesson I learned is going to be explained throughout the entirety of this video. So make sure you stick around to the end of the video to not just learn all the tips and tricks that I learned throughout college to get successful grades and have a great time, but there's some twists as well. This is the story of my life in words. Everyone's on the road to something in their life, and they have an end goal in mind of where they want to go and where they want to be. I personally wanted to start a series called Road to 1 Million. I wanted to keep track of everything that was going on in my everyday life so I could figure out what were the exact habits that helped me make my first $1 million. I didn't know what was going to come out of it, but I knew that I wasn't going to stop no matter what. Let's go all the way back to November 3rd, 2020, when I started this journey. I was a sophomore in November of 2020, and this was the first official book of the Road to 1 Million series, almost 3.5 years ago. I feel like I wasn't being productive enough and I wasn't making the most out of my college experience past just having a good time, and I had a lot of goals in mind, but I didn't know how to set out and achieve them. And I thought it'd be easier to reach my goals if I could see them in person. And at this time, I was in my 3rd semester of college. I was studying biochemistry, organic chemistry, and it was all just really tough. My first semester, I remember I got the freshman 15, I was going out a lot, and I was having a lot of fun, but my grades weren't reflecting the fun that I was having. I guess they were, yeah. And I wasn't really setting myself up for success. I got like a 3.3 GPA, got the freshman 15, and I got cut from the soccer team. I was really upset with the path that I saw myself going down, so I immediately sat down and just started writing things down. And again, I thought, what better way to work towards something than write them down and just go achieve them. In 2020, as a sophomore, my goals were simple at the time. I wanted to focus on my physical and mental health and make sure that I got really good grades at the time in book 1. I told myself that I was going to do one thing that sucked every single day. Regardless of what I was doing, I made sure that I did one thing that sucked. And I thought the best way to start that was waking up early. So I called it beating the sun. On day 1, 11/3/2020, I woke up at 6:11. Wake up, no phone, drink a bottle of water, stretch, and wash my face. And by 6:35, I was on the road going on a run. They say it takes around 30 days to start a habit, but I think a switch flipped in my head here, and it's created a habit that's now lasted over 4 years. I immediately took a cold shower, and this is before the cold plunges and stuff were cool. And at this point, I told myself that I was going to wake up every single day around this time. And by day 3, I was averaging waking up around 5:30, and I still do that 1,158 days later. By day 30, I was starting to get into some positive physical habits, like regulating my eating, making sure that I was prioritizing my time studying, and a lot of physical activity as well. So I started doing jiu-jitsu, I was running every single day, and I was doing it early in the morning to make sure that I was setting the tone for the day. I even tried meditating, but like I have ADHD, so it didn't last very long, but I did find some value out of it. I was also making sure to set aside a little bit of time to hang out with my friends as well. By day 30, I was really getting into the habit of starting to work on myself, eating healthier, working out every single day, whether it was jiu-jitsu, running, and I just felt better overall. And as I continued to do this, I realized how much I enjoyed it, not just physically by exercising more, but also mentally as well. It was almost as like a mental fog had lifted, and I had a lot more direction on the way that I wanted to go for the goals I wanted to achieve. For example, I was taking microbiology, organic chemistry, and biochemistry at the same time, and I started scoring higher every single test because I was learning my studying habits, and I was able to prioritize all of my time to get everything done in a timely manner. Because personally, I feel no major is hard. You just have to dedicate more time to specific majors, and that's why people don't set themselves up for success, because they don't put the amount of time in that you need to be able to get out to get the good output. The other thing too I started doing was starting to skip out on social gatherings. I wasn't going out as much during the week, but on weekends I would give myself a little bit of time to go have fun. But sometimes when I would go out on Sundays at this time, it would put me to a bad start to the week on Monday. For example, I would sleep in and then I would be upset. It would set a bad tone for the week. So I started to change that and rectify it. I would go back through the days on journal 1 and realize that I've been going out too much and needed to cut back to stay on track to what I wanted to be able to accomplish. And between day 70 to day 80, I had a solid schedule. I built all these great habits, and I felt like I was starting to figure out myself as well. And I feel like your purpose kind of changes over time as you get older and you mature, but the one thing that does stay true is what you're trying to go after. And by writing down all these goals and prioritizing what I wanted to get done, it felt like I was gamifying the life experience. And it was cool because I realized I wasn't just going through the motions, getting up on a daily to day basis and just doing the things that I had wrote down. I was hitting specific goals that I was always looking at going after. Like I hit a 250-pound bench, which was something that I never thought would even be possible. I got a 3.6 GPA as I was taking organic chem, biochemistry, microbiology as well. And I was waking up before 6 a.m. every single day. Like even going back to this book, this is a random day, 77, 5:39 a.m. wake up. Is crazy that you can just really tell yourself to do it and nobody else is stopping you except yourself. By the end of book 1 in March, which is March 16th, 2021, I knew I was at a point where I wanted to make as much money as possible. I was starting to understand that to be able to go after what you wanted, you really had to change your mindset. And there was a quote that I really liked that I wrote down. It was, if you continue to think the way you've always thought, you're going to continue to get what you've always gotten. I was focusing on physical and mental health, and now I had gotten to a point where I wanted to get my money up. I wrote down 6 different ways that I wanted to make money, and I made that my main focus in the start of book 2. So at the time, it was school was number 1, stocks. I was a big day trader at the time. I started looking into the stock market, which was cool because I started to understand that day trading was not the way to go. Also, just ensuring that I was trying to learn different ways. Like affiliate marketing was a big one. I started doing that as the very first type of brand deals. And then Lectra, which is what we're going to talk about in a little bit, social media marketing, and rental properties. And I had $5,000 to my name. So at the time, I didn't know what to do with it, but I knew that I was taking a step in the right direction because I wanted to be creative and look into different ways of making money. But I was still trying to figure out my vision. And that brings us to 2021, which is the start of Journal 2. So at the start of 2021, the Road to $1 Million Journal number 1 had come to an end. Start of book 1, I had a net worth of around $5,950, and I was keeping track. I had around $19,050 or something that I made between book 1 and book 2. So it was like 90 days. I made like $14,000, which is awesome. I was learning how to do it. And the methodology I was using was starting to work. So I created 4 different income streams between my freshman and sophomore year of college. I was getting revenue from the TikTok creator program to start in 2021. I think I got in the end of 2020. It wasn't a ton, but I was making money. Stock and crypto investing, which I guess was 2 and 3, and then lecture pitch competitions, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Now in Journal 2, I really started prioritizing the times I was doing everything. I was timestamping what I was doing, and at the exact same time, trying to optimize every single aspect of my day. And at the time, I wanted to learn more about making money through investing. More long term I started looking at because the day trading stuff wasn't working out as well. And this is the time when NFTs were blowing up as well. I know, but just listen. And I remember a specific video by Ali Abdaal where he was talking about how much money he made from affiliate marketing, and I had around 50,000 followers at the time on all my social media. So I was like, okay, I think I have enough followers. I want to give this a try. I want to see what I can do. I was coming off of a couple viral TikToks, and I knew that I wanted to continue to do it because I really enjoyed it, but I didn't know who to talk to or what to do. So I watched a bunch of YouTube videos. And circling back to June 2020, it was a little bit right before I started journaling. I had come up with a company idea called Lectra, and the reason I'm talking about it now in March of 2021 in book 2 is when it really started to come to fruition and kind of take off a little bit. I was starting to get better grades in school, and this is my second semester of my sophomore year. So I got a 92 on my microbiology and cell physiology exams, and I got selected as a finalist for the Westchester University Business Idea Competition. That means I ended up being a finalist and winning the Westchester Business Idea Competition for $5,000. And at the time, it was the biggest amount of money I've ever seen in my entire life, which meant I was the best business idea in not just my school, but the entire town and greater city of like the Westchester area, which was super cool and humbling. So I did what anybody else would do, and I went to Chipotle to celebrate. From there, it was a lot of organic chem exams, cell physiology exams, and exercising to keep my mind right through all of it. And I was documenting everything down, what I was doing every single day. And still, this is day 210, 6/2/2021, a random day. I'm doing jujitsu at 6 a.m. I'm waking up, keeping my hygiene at 5:15 a.m. I was on the right track. I was doing so well with keeping track of this book every single day that I started a second book, do the exact same thing, but specifically for the company. And that worked out really well as well. And then on April 25th, 2021, which is day 172, it was a Sunday, I met the person who I thought was going to be my co-founder for the company Lectra that I had won this $5,000 for. I reached out to 300 different people on LinkedIn, and I only got one response from this guy named Christian. He didn't end up being my co-founder, but he introduced me to the person who ended up being my co-founder and helping me make Lectra my full-time job now in 2024. I started to get into rhythm with this as well. We were meeting twice a week, drawing up the business model, coming up with different ideas, and pretty much a roadmap of where we wanted to go and how we wanted to get there. I was posting every day on TikTok and YouTube to help continue to grow the account. And I remember it like it was yesterday. From July 4th to July 9th, my TikTok account grew from 53,000 followers to like 183,000 followers. And then literally the next day, I got to 200,000 followers. And by the 14th of July, I was at like 250,000 followers. This is all in the span of 1 week. And in that same week, I had 2 videos back to back that hit over 1 million views each, and I completely just skyrocketed my account. You think that was crazy? Things really started to pick up from there. Now in Journal 3, this was July 18th, 2021. I started going live on TikTok. I went live on TikTok in July of that year, and in one like an hour-long live stream, I got like 17,000 new followers. I was loading up on crypto. I was starting to get brand deals. I was in the 300,000 follower range on TikTok, and brands were reaching out like wildfire. Shady Rays, Xjimmy Halo projector, robot vacuum cleaner that was autonomous. Brands were reaching out like crazy, and I liked everything that they were giving me, so I was continuing to do these brand deals. I remember Slate Milk, Copy AI, they all had reached out to me in the same week. It was really cool. And at the same time, I was working my second internship, so I just finished my sophomore year at SAI Med Partners, and I was an oncology consultant for them. So I was doing that on top of the content, on top of working out every single day, and I really built a foundation through doing that. I remember I would get up every single day at 5:15, and I would be at jiu-jitsu at 5:55, to get there at 6 o'clock, and then I would come back, shower. I would do like a cold shower, and then I'd go down to the basement. I would work for SAI until like 5 or 6 o'clock at night, and then I would just rock and roll with TikToks from 5 to 9 o'clock, and then I would get ready, go to bed, get up, and do it again. And I did this the entire summer. I was so dialed in. And I stuck by the motto that David Goggins said: if you want to truly grow as a person, you got to do something that sucks every single day. And I thought, why not? Let's try it. And 4 years later, here we are, continuing to do the same thing and finding a ton of success doing it. Going through Journal 3, I was buying a lot of Ethereum at the time, which I thought was a lot of Ethereum. I had like 0.3 ETH at the time. I was meeting with a bunch of different engineering companies and trying to figure out if it was even possible to make the product that I've been talking about and just won this $5,000 for. I was lifting and running and studying and getting into NFTs in the peak of 2021 when NFTs were still cool at the time. I was going strong on TikTok Live, still getting like a ton of followers, and I was forcing myself to post every single day. And then on July 27th, 2021, I got my first 1,000 followers on YouTube because I did a strategy where I was having all these people joining my TikTok live streams, and then I would go live on YouTube at the same time, and I would bring the people over to the YouTube live stream and they would subscribe from there. And I have it all documented on here how I did it. It was really cool. It was crazy too because on the same day that I hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, I hit 350,000 followers on TikTok, which was ridiculous. And still is ridiculous to me that there was like 350,000 people that hit follow on like something I was doing. I remember when I was hammering social media, working on the company, doing jiu-jitsu every single day and waking up, beating the sun, it kind of felt like things were starting to fall into place for what I was doing. It was like a domino effect of good things. I remember on August 8th, 2021, I did like a 10-minute live stream on TikTok and I made like $168, and that was like the craziest thing I'd ever seen in the world. I remember in August of 2021, through this book, it was August 28th, I bought a Wicked Ape NFT with my roommate from college. So we were talking about it forever, and then we finally ended up buying it, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. And in that same month, at the end of August of 2021, I got picked for a national final global pitch competition, which was the first one that I had been a part of since the April competition that I had won in Westchester for $5,000. This is called the CEO Global Pitch Competition. So I was super stoked about that too, because I was still going full steam on Lectra. And on August 30th, 2021, I started my junior year of college, and somebody talked me into trying Forex trading. This kid in my school told me he made $40 million trading Forex, and I was like, all right, I'll give him a try. I gave him $100, and that day he turned it into $900, and I was freaking out. I was like, okay, this is it. I'm retiring my parents tomorrow. I'm buying the penthouse. I'm dropping out of school. This is everything. And then we met up again the next day. I have it right here saying like, oh, you idiot. Why did you do that? Because I made them like $900 and I was like, oh, I'm being nice. And that same day, he ended up losing me all the money. So I ended up $150 out, and I don't trade Forex. I started getting more and more brand deals, and I was able to charge as much as $5,000 for one brand deal incorporation, which was the craziest thing. And still to this day is the craziest thing ever. And the coolest thing was I was saving up money to be able to put towards the startup Lectra that I had been building all the way back from 2020. Super important later. What was even cooler is that I got to work with all these brands that I really loved working. At this time, I was also playing a ton on the club soccer team and going through the motions of waking up early, lifting, working out, making sure I had the studying habits right, journaling everything down, and it was going well. And I remember at this time in June of 2021, I had met my co-founder, Nick, and we knew we needed a coder to be able to make everything happen, and I reached out to every single kid in my school, Westchester, and we couldn't find anybody, and we kept looking for 2 more years. I was really learning how to manage my time at this point, and I was learning that not just writing down my schedule was helping me with managing my time, but I was also documenting my entire journey throughout college of everything that I've been working on. I remember between October 20th and January 30th, I made my first $100,000 ever. And it was the coolest opportunity, and I'm super thankful for it because I was able to put everything towards the startup to be able to keep funding and fueling the fire. And this was through all the revenue, sponsorships, and affiliates that I've been working and building from the beginning in 2020 just by writing them down. And you can see it on the front of this book as well. On October 31st, 2021, my school paid for me to go to this global pitch competition at Tampa, and it was a very cool and humbling experience. And they made sure to let us know that we weren't selected for the finals that year until after we already booked the flights, hotels, and everything to get down there, which was annoying, but I ended up meeting one of my amazing mentors there, Joy, who has raised and sold companies for hundreds of millions of dollars. And she's been an awesome influence in my life ever since this 2021 conference. So it was cool knowing that how things really could transpire into be something bigger than what you initially believed it could be. I ended up getting picked for a huge accelerator program at the University of Tampa through Joy, through this competition, through this conference that I had met. But we'll talk more about that. I also remember I have it written down from book 3. I made my first over $1,000 day in ad revenue, which was also something I've been thinking about since I was in 8th grade, wanting to be a YouTuber. And I learned that through book 3, that with any hard work and a little bit of luck, you can really go and get anything that you want. On 11/7/2021, still in book 3, I met the founder of Drink By, the antioxidant water, and he was an awesome guy. But there's a crazy story behind how we met and what happened from there. He was filming a TV show called $1 Billion Idea. I think it was on Fox, and it was at a pizza shop at my college right next to the house that I was living in. I knew that there was going to be some big entrepreneur there, and I didn't know who it was, so I went and I found out. And I was trying to find who it was to see if there was any individual that stood out, and all of a sudden a matte black convertible Rolls Royce pulls up, and I could tell that it was him when he got out of the car. And I remember standing directly next to him. This guy's worth like $2 billion. And I started making small talk with him, and I told him about Lectra, which was the idea. And he was like, you know what, let's finish filming, and I'll talk to you about it after. And I was on the TV show. If you look it up on $1 Billion Idea on Fox, I think I'm in the episode where they go into Westchester, so it was cool. And afterwards, I remember sitting back with my friends, and I wrote this all down in book 3. I just heard, hey, what's your idea? I ended up going over and talking to him about Lectra, and he still to this day remembers me. We are in contact through his assistant, but I got his producer's name, and he was like, and numbered. He was like, if we ever shoot season 2, you'll be on season 2. So it's cool how you really step out of your comfort zone and make things happen just by having the courage to try. And on 11/14 in book 3 was a super cool milestone as well. A couple days after this, I had hit 365 days of journaling each and every single day. Starting on day 365 I said that I would do a quote every single day that signified how I felt. And day 1 of the quote, which is still my lock screen till this day 3 years later, is how big would you dream if you knew you couldn't fail? That quote's resonated with me ever since, and I carried that exact same energy into book 4. I think book 4 is when everything really started to get crazy, because I'd gone from just managing my time and figuring out the direction that I wanted to go to actually going out and achieving these, being able to experience the results of all the hard work for the first time. We also got incorporated at the end of book 3, which is incredible because it was the first time that I'd taken it from an idea to something real. And that's why I think book 4 started this parabolic curve that started to really go up. In the start of Journal 4, I began writing a note to myself at the start of every single journal. It was an overall update of how everything was going, and I also added it at the end of the journal. So at the beginning, I talked about how I was feeling, what was going on, and at the end, it was a recap and what I wanted to accomplish next. On the first day of Journal 4, I wrote, stay on your path and don't stray from the path, because on the other side is greatness. You're doing a great service to other people through Lectra. Don't give up on any of these, and you're going to have a great life. And an update on March of 2022, I said, Jake here, checking in again. It's funny, I was just kind of talking to myself in third person. You've had even more success, but you've also come across bumps in the road with Lectra. Just know, a bend in the road is not the end of the road unless you fail to make the turn. Keep your head up and keep going, be smart with your money, and continue to work your butt off every day. In the beginning of Journal 4, which is November of 2021, I had to kind of take the gas off the content for a little bit because classes were ramping up. I was taking a ton of high-level science classes, and the company started to get very busy as well. We started building out an app, and we met a guy at the same conference in Tampa who was helping us out tremendously, and he did no code. So we built an entire Lectra app without any code through one person we met at one conference. Anything can happen. And then in November of the same year, this was a couple days later after Journal 4 started, I found an ad in TikTok for a pitch competition, and I wanted to enter. The competition was called Entra, and you had to be the top 5 companies upvoted to be able to compete. So I made tons and tons of accounts just to get us to the top of the upvote, just so we could compete. Out of that, we got second place. We got a $100 gift card, and we were introduced to this company who made this conductive technology from a venture cap. Crazy how things work out. We got on a phone call, and they said that they could make Lectra, and they were interested in trying. We had our hour meeting on December 26th, and I booked the meeting for January 12th. I remember there was a 3-day limbo period where I didn't think they would reply, and we had to go back to the drawing board. As I was sitting in a ski lift, they sent me an email back and said that they were ready for us to fly down to Houston to make the product, and I was freaking out. We ended up making our first prototype, and it worked perfectly, and I think that was one of the coolest days in my life because it validated something that I'd been building in my head for the last 2 years at this point. I also went to my first and only NBA game. The Spurs were playing. It was really cool. And then fast forward to February of 2022, my net worth personally hit $100,000, which I think was a really cool achievement to be able to do before your 22nd birthday. Now, I took the money that I'd made from social media and I kept using it to excel the company. And I immediately filed for a provisional patent from this, which was another cool experience because it brought in a whole new level of business and validation for the company that I've been building. On March 7th of 2022, I bought my first camera. It was a Sony a7 III, and I have it all written down here. It's so cool. I actually took this photo on the 14th, a couple days after I bought it. But a lot of this time was focused on getting good grades and making sure I was still waking up early in the morning to hit the gym every day. Journal 5 started to pick up fast at a running speed with honestly everything. And the big thing was in Journal 5 NFTs. And I know that nobody likes hearing about it now, but at the peak, NFTs were all the talk, all the craze, and we did some really cool projects with it. Like, we didn't make it, but we profited off of some of the cool projects. And I think you guys are going to be interested to hear about it. On April 13th of 2022, and this is the start of Journal 5, I bought an NFT running shoe called Steppin'. It cost me around $1,300, which is scary because it was a ton of money, still is a ton of money. And I remember I was running every single day. So you would run and you would get paid for running. I remember my first run, I was making $9 a day, which was insane because it was like they were just pulling money out of thin air. And then literally a week later, I was doing a 2-mile run every single day, making around $109 to $110 every single run. I stopped going out as much so I could focus on making more content and more money. And on the 25th of April, my roommate and I impulse bought tickets for a Spartan race that was 6.2 miles long. And I ended up getting 24th out of 800 people at the competition. I think he got like 29th, and we didn't train for it at all. I mean, we trained one time for one day for 3 hours, but it was a cool experience and something I definitely am glad that I journaled and remember and even have a YouTube video of it. I remember I also got into crypto and crypto mining and even bought something called a helium miner. This was one of my L's, and I want to talk about my L's and learn from them, not just W's, because the W's don't happen all the time. They were going for $750 for one miner, and I was like, wow, that's so freaking awesome. And they were saying that each miner was pulling around $500 to $1,000 a day off of the blockchain, and people were posting videos about it, and I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, this is my ticket out. Again, I'm going to retire my parents. Here we go. Same kind of story as the Forex thing went. I bought the miners, and I have everything documented. I was like, you're an idiot, in my journal. Like, why did you do that? And they didn't come for a year. And after that year, by the time people were not making any money anymore, they were so down bad that people were paying helium to be on the network, and I don't know what was going on at that point. So completely lost $750, and one of the biggest L's in my life, past the Forex stuff as well. My mentor at school, who's also worth $500 million, in May of 2022 invited me to his Kentucky Derby party. Awesome, because I got to bet on the horses and I lost everything immediately, but it was a cool experience. Networked with a ton of people and potential investors as well at this time. I remember this lady, her husband had just recently passed away, and I remember her telling me a story, and I had everything written down as well. This was May 4th, 2022. She said that he just recently passed away, and the #1 underdog was named after her husband. So she put $1,000 on that horse. It hit. She made like $50,000 at this party. It was crazy. At this point, I was still making good money on social media, but not as much because I had to take breaks, and I had to study for finals as well. But on May 14th, I bought a MacBook Pro M2, which is still to this day, all of the tech gurus and all the people on YouTube say that it is the best MacBook that was ever made. So go to decision. And on May 17th, 2022, I ended up getting an internship at Pfizer, one of the biggest companies and the best internship in the world. And remember, this is still all in book 5. And on May 28th, 2022, I sold all my Steppin' stuff and the running gear that I was doing, the runs every single day. I think I did 74 runs in a row, and I logged every single one in the book, and I made a profit of $5,200 just from running, literally running. It also got me in really good shape, which is why I'm assuming I did pretty well in that Spartan race. And this is the same day that I moved into my college house for my senior year of college for the first time, which was awesome because it was the first time I really felt like an adult. I think it was a culmination of writing everything down and ensuring that I was staying on the right path to achieving these goals. And it's really exciting to see everything back in my notes and how cool I thought it was to be in my own house for the first time, even if we weren't renting it. And June 7th was a big day at Pfizer of 2022. They threw something called Joy Fest, which is where they brought all the interns together from all over the country and pretty much threw an entire festival. Food, games, people from different countries, people from all over the United States came together, and we just pretty much partied at Pfizer. So it was a cool experience as well. But I knew from there that I wanted to go back to doing my own thing, and I really wanted to make lecture work because corporate America was cool, but I like making and doing my own stuff. We got our patent ideas back from the attorneys we hired. They went through any potential competitors, and my co-founder and I went through everything together at the time, and we ended up submitting the provisional patent in October 17th of 2022, which is all throughout book 5. We celebrated the 4th of July that year at a huge house, and my grandparents were super excited. They took my entire family of 2022 into this house, and I documented the entire time that we were there and what we were doing and what it was like, because it was like an experience that we've never had before. Because everybody was together, everyone in my family came together, was hanging out, and it was an awesome time. I didn't forget about waking up and running early, so I was running every single day. I was getting up early and I was doing my thing. Throughout the end of July into September, I realized that in all this time, I've been consistently getting up and going to the gym every single day between 5 and 6 o'clock every single day except Sunday. That was my sleeping day. It doesn't matter where you start, it just matters where you end up and how you change as a person for the better on the road to get. And on September 9th, I was officially selected into that Spartan Accelerator program that I was talking about with the University of Tampa that I met from my mentor, Joy, who'd sold hundreds of millions of dollars of different companies and raised even more money. And it was just a really cool experience, and I'm excited to talk. Another thing I did at the end of book 5 is I wrote out all my goals I wanted for book 6. I compartmentalized it, I wrote everything down, and I went after it. I was gonna have a working wireless prototype for Electra, 75,000 subs on YouTube, over 500,000 followers on social media altogether, and I wanted to increase my net worth to $160,000. See what I hit in book 6. August 18th, 2022 was the first day of book 6 in The Road to 1 Million, number 6 journal. The message of this book begins to talk about how I've made tons of progress on lecture, my grades, social media, physical and mental health, all throughout the entire duration of the last book into this book. And it's just really cool because it's an amazing thing to be able to look back on and see your own journey of how you've progressed over time. And on August 19th of 2022, beginning of book 6, I impulse went on skydiving for the first time. That was one of the craziest experiences I've ever had. And I think I decided to do it and ended up doing it in that exact same day too. And that made me realize how cool life is and how important it is to live life to the fullest every single day. A little tidbit about that story as well. I remember we got to the edge of the plane and the guy was like, "You want to flip?" And I was like, "No." Like, "What?" And he goes, "Okay, we're going to flip." So we jump out, we do a double backflip, and then he's like yelling in my ear as we're going like 130 miles per hour, dropping down. "You got to pull the chute." I was like, "What? If you don't pull the chute, I'm not pulling it." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" We're like flying at 100 miles an hour. He grabs my hand, he puts in the chute, and he pulls it. He was like, "I'm glad you did that. I didn't know it was going to happen." And I was like, "What?" On August 23rd of 2022, in book 6, I got my first circuit board for Electra. And I got selected to speak at a pitch competition / conference, and I got a free $450 Garmin watch called the Venu 2 Plus. There were people from the Netherlands and hospitals and all over the country came to visit and speak and compete. And it was an awesome and eye-opening experience that I was blessed to have. And October 1st, I was kind of my own hype man here. I got a bad grade on an exam, and I said, "Okay, you got a bad grade on a test," and it was bad news. You need to focus more on school. Bending the road is not the end of the road unless you fail to make the turn. Enjoy going out with your friends tonight, and then you grind tomorrow. So you always got to remember that you're your own hype man, because if you're not going to hype yourself up, why should other people? From October 21st of 2022 through the end of the year, it was a lot of the same thing. I was just grinding on getting good grades, making sure that I was waking up, going to the gym every single day. I wasn't doing as much jujitsu anymore. I was focusing on lifting, eating right, eating healthy, and physical and mental health. But on the 21st of October, I got selected for the same pitch competition in Tampa last year. This time it was in Chicago, and I did get selected as a national finalist for Electra. And I ended up this time going from not even being selected for the top 20 to getting 4th in the country and speaking to a room with as many as 600 people in it, with one of the individuals being the founder of MapQuest, who actually went to my college. I didn't know that. That was cool. Throughout all of December, we worked on getting our patent approved, and it ended up costing me $16,000 personally just to be able to submit it. And it was a great thing that I've been able to make that money from social media, or else I wouldn't have been able to do the patent in the first place. It allowed us to continue moving everything forward, and at this point, I hit 440,000 followers on TikTok, 50K on YouTube, and over 30 million views. But fast forward to today, over 140 million. What a way to close out the year, and what a way to start book 7 and what came next. Journal 7 started at the beginning of 2023, and I can single-handedly say this is the most productive and successful year I had on record, because I have everything on record, in terms of growth we had, from the social media to Electra to personal and mental growth. It was absolutely incredible, and I'm excited to share it with you. The last day of this journal was February 7th, and I went on a trip for 2 weeks, and I ended up missing 3 months of scheduling. I know. This was the biggest gap I had in the entire journey of journaling. So that brings us to our final and most current journal we have to date, book 8. Till book 8, every single journal prior had all of my college days logged. This book started on the first day I graduated from college. I was picked as the commencement speaker for the honors graduation for the commencement ceremony. I wanted to kick off book 8 with starting a new strategy. I wrote down 10 goals I wanted to achieve in the back of this book, and then I went after after 3 specifically that I wanted to achieve in the nearest term. I wrote down LJW, tomorrow's goals, which means Lectra, Generation Nation, and workout goals, because those are the 3 main things I was focusing on. Generation Nation is all the content. Every day, I wrote my goal for the next day for all those 3 things, and I've stuck with it every single day. And in this book, we are officially on day 1155. Crazy, right? 5/24/2023, we finished up at that accelerator program at the University of Tampa officially. So I flew down to meet with investors and engineers, and we had some pretty cool things come out of it. I actually got a job offer down in Sarasota working as a product manager, but I wanted to continue Lectra full time, and all the traction we made and the journey we've been on, I just didn't think it was worth giving up. Continue. And on June 1st, 2023, we went directly from Tampa in Florida and drove to Boston for the World Finals of the Holt Prize. It was a 16-hour car ride straight. And then from June to December, I moved back home, and that's where I am currently right now as we're fundraising for the startup. And it's been a lot of locking in and realizing exactly what I need to do and the lifestyle I have to live to be able to be successful at what I'm trying to create. I wrote out entire content calendars and have every single video planned for the entire year of 2024. And a recap of everything I've done. I won 3 gold medals in semi-pro pickleball tournaments. Still 3.5 years later, consistently waking up at 5 a.m., raised $25,000 for the startup, over 500,000 followers, grown the team to over 10 members for Lectra, and I do it full time, which is the coolest part. We have pro athletes interested, PhDs on the team, and interns from all over the country, which is an amazing thing to have, and I'm super blessed and excited for 2024. Now, the major lessons I've learned from doing this from 2020 to now in 2024, growing as a person, becoming an adult, and being on my own as possible, is you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. Anybody who's been successful in life or done anything that was even remotely cool took the first leap of getting started. And I remember when I did everything from the company to doing the social media, people make fun of you a lot, and it's hard, and that's why most people quit. You don't need to see the light at the end of the tunnel, but you need to see enough light to be able to take your next step. And that comes from creating it inside yourself. Just be able to say, I don't give a shit what anybody else is going to say. I'm going to do this anyway, regardless of they think it's cool or not, because if I think it's cool, it's all that matters. And sometimes I would need to change tasks around, so I would cross them off. I would change times around, and that's a lot of scribbles and sketches throughout this entire book. It's really become motivating because it shows how, as a person, you can change, and like how much you can train your own mind to be able to do things that you never thought would be possible in the first place. Like, I didn't think I'd be making a company. I didn't think I would have any followers on social media. It's still weird to have that because it's like, why do people care about what I say? But at the same time, I look back and I'm like, wow, I did a lot of cool stuff. I have it all written down. So it's like, maybe I am where I should be, and maybe I'm doing what I should be doing because I've already done it. And this has helped me become more efficient in every single aspect of my life and as a person. From school, it's made me better at studying, getting better grades. From socializing, it's made me more outgoing and personable through all these pitch competitions and speaking, along with speaking in front of a camera, but that's a different story. And it's really reduced stress because I know what I have to get done the next day because I write everything out the night before. And when you have your day planned out, and I can't stress this one enough, this is the last thing, have your day written out, it makes it so much easier to block off time to get everything done. Like, I don't scroll on my phone as much. I'm not sitting around not being productive. And it's not like you have to be productive and doing crazy shit all the time. It's like you just block out when you do specific things. So I have time where I'm sitting doing nothing for 20 minutes because it's just good for mental health. You have to be able to not just write these things down, stick to the schedule. Even for like a week, you'll see how fast you can change as a person for the better. By the end of that month, you're rock and rolling with fuel. The rest is history from there. It's all up. And this is my story. What's cool about it as well is it's really just the beginning, but we're over 1,000 days and you can write your own story as well. Imagine being able to go back 10 years when you're sitting in your mansion in your sports car surrounded by all your family, going through your 10 years of journaling every single day, talking about what was successful, what wasn't successful, the habits you built that got you to the amazing point that you are today, people you surrounded yourself with that helped you become successful, and you wouldn't be where you are today without the amazing people. I appreciate all of you watching the story of this story of my life and being part of my incredible journey. And I'm excited to see where all of us are going to go in 2024. Thank you for coming to the corporation. The best community is Generation Nation. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.